There we go. Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. Hope you're all doing well and had a good week so far. So tonight, this lady over here, she was maybe with us a couple of weeks ago, but she had slight internet issues, shall we say. But thankfully tonight, excuse me, it's all fixed. So she's back up and running. As you can see, we've got Caroline McKendrick-Gibson with us. There's wee Eileen in for Phantom Seekers, Paranormal. Right on the bell as well, Irene. Irene's sometimes late, Caroline.
I don't believe it.
Oh, no, there's one time she came in about 20 past. Very shoddy. You know what I mean? But, she has redeemed herself since then. And she's on the bell. We're actually meeting up with Eileen on Friday as well in Edinburgh. She's taking us all out for dinner, which I think's lovely. She doesn't know it yet, but we'll tell her that on Friday. And you are forgiven, my dear. She's also one of your speakers at Paranormal next year as well. So she's a lovely wee lady. She's actually for the east side, for the Edinburgh end as well, same as your other half. But he decides to leave it. Irene's still there. What can I say? I'm only jesting, though.
Don't think he had a choice. I'm sure he'd love to still be there.
It's a beautiful city. It's say just before we come on, it's just the history. You can feel the history in it. As soon as you go into the Royal Mile and Route Greyfriars, etc., you can just feel the history of the town, basically. Anyway, so Caroline is a historical researcher, writer, podcast host. She's also founder of Somerset Paranormal Investigations UK, and I got that right this time, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
Or it's SPI.
UK.
SPIK. SPI. IK.
I knew you were going to do that.
I mean, it's a bit of a given, though. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's a kind of Chukter accent. Okay. Some of your granny would say. So she's back with us. She has some issues all the week, but they're done. Fixed, and she's here tonight. So how are you, doll? How's life?
Yeah, not doing too bad. Yeah, busy. Been keeping up to date with everything paranormal that's coming in, kind of thing, trying to get some cases resolved, and writing, and also research for TV programs and stuff like that. So yeah, keeping busy.
So do you have a sort of personal life? Not personal, a sort of downtime kind of thing?
Yeah, I do. I make sure that it's pretty even split. I like going swimming. That's my get my brain into gear kind of thing. So I do that 3 mornings a week. And I chill out and relax of an evening, sometimes not till quite late. But if I get a chance, I just sit and do what normal people do and watch like TV.
You say you go swimming, and there's our lovely Laura in. Evening, dear.
Evening, Laura.
Do you go swimming in a pool, or are you one of these nutters? No offence to anybody who does it, but one of these nutters that go swimming in the sea or freezing cold lakes or whatever?
No, I'm a pool girl. Always have been a pool girl. I used to swim for my county years ago, so I'm quite happy plodding up and down in a lane and doing shopping lists and things in my head, and it just passes the time really quickly. And then when you're bored and you've had enough, you can get out. But if you're in the middle of the sea and you swim out for 3 miles, you've got to swim back for 3 miles, haven't you?
You can swim for 3 miles out to sea, then you're pretty much buggered. No? But no, I've seen a few TikToks and these, guys and women, what have you, and they'll be at a lake or a loch, north of Scotland. And as soon as you step in, you can see the colour drain for them. And you think, well, I mean, I've been in the sea, I've been in loch, and they're bloody cold. You think, why are you doing that, But I prefer the pool, but I'm not a serious swimmer. I never have been. I like just to take the wee one and jump about. I can swim, but I'm not one of these up and down the lane. No offence, though, up and down the lane kind of thing. I like just to throw the children in, see you later. See how far you can throw them.
Yeah.
Wild water swimming. It's nuts. They do it up at every New Year. Eileen and Albert, they do it at just at the Forth, South Queen's Ferry, the Forth Road Bridge. It's a kind of, they all go wading in. I think it's New Year's Day they do it. And you see them all going in, the colour just drape. But this is something that's always puzzled me. A lot of them wear woolly hats.
Yeah.
And they're going in swimming. Well, why are they wearing a woolly hat? They're going into the water swimming.
Because you lose most of your body heat through your head. So you have to keep your head warm to protect any heat loss kind of thing. So,
but surely the hat's going to get wet. That's the thing.
Yeah.
How weird to talk about swimming. We were talking about swimming last night. Laura's mum, our daughter went swimming at school yesterday, and Laura's mum was in and the swimming at the same time. Laura's mum's lovely, a bit nuts in a good way, but she was in. She says she met the wee one, Looney Duke, exactly. She stay, go in a heated pool. That's what I prefer. Call me old-fashioned. I prefer a heated pool, But I didn't know you investigated with Jacqueline Dixon.
Yes, we did.
How was it?
Can't really talk about what happened that night because we've all basically signed a non-disclosure agreement between us. Stuff happened that night that, oh my God, how many was in the room? Going on between 15 and 20 people were in the room. And we're in a chat group now, all 15, 20 of us, and we still don't have a clue what the hell happened that night. But we have agreed not to talk about it outside of the group. So what happens in investigation group stays in investigation group because we don't want to be locked up for being insane. I mean, we just can't explain what happened. It's very strange. Very, very strange.
You've got us all curious now, don't you? You don't.
I will tell you one thing that I'm sure it won't be breaking any rules of Investigation Club. It was within Harpic, I think they call it, isn't it? So it's the Haunted Paranormal Research Centre, which is the antiques centre that they have. It was in there, and it's owned by Neil that runs Parameet. So yeah, looking forward to going back. I've won a prize with Proud to be Paranormal to go back there. And I told my husband Martin, he said, I'm out, I'm not going back to that place again. He said, absolutely frightened the hell out of me. So yeah, we're going back. And then also when I'm talking again next June, I think it is, we'll be going back. If he doesn't go back, I'll drag somebody else with me and we'll see if we can recreate the same scene. But yeah, it was strange, very, very strange.
So is Martin a skeptic, or because I talk to a lot of people, obviously, and sometimes they'll say, mother half, he or she does not believe in it, total skeptic. But I took them on an investigation with me, and it didn't 100% convince them, but it certainly gave them something to think about.
So Martin's always had a healthy interest within the paranormal community. Before he met me, he was obviously interested and open. He'd had a couple of experiences himself growing up as a child that he couldn't find a logical explanation for. So yes, he was open. Obviously, his interest grew when he met me because of my activity and involvement to the level that it was. And I would say that we're all pretty much skeptical believers within our team. The more that we investigate, the more over the years that we've become skeptical. But we've learned to debunk, question, and try to reason what's happened. So we have a healthy, open mindset. I wouldn't say that everything that happens is paranormal because it's not. Some things can be very easily explained away. So I think he's on the paring with me that, yeah, he's a skeptical believer.
That's what we are, basically, road trips. Well, possibly. I'll speak to Neil. Also, we're organising the Scottish Parameet next year in conjunction with Neil. And we actually Neil on, it was last Monday, I want to say, with Barry and Barry's other half, Ames, they done it. Barry and Ames were in the research. I keep forgetting the name of it. That's terrible, isn't it?
Harpic, I think it is, isn't it? Or Hapric, Haunted Antique Paranormal Research Centre, HAPRC.
Aye, that's what you just said.
It's not easy. You could have picked something slightly easier to say.
I did say that to Barry, because you picked a shorter name instead of a big long, and so he says the letters, says it's a lot easier just doing the letters. I know Neil is Neil's a really, really good down to earth, genuine guy. It's good when you know like yourself as well. But what you were saying there was.
I know. As I said it, Eileen, I know. I didn't mean Harpic that way. I meant without the I in it. But I don't know how you pronounce it. Just saying Hapric or It's in Hinckley Antiques Haunted Centre. Let's just call it that.
I checked that is better than Happy than the name of a toilet cleaner.
I'm sorry, Neil. I'm sorry.
I'm sure he'll forgive you, though. But just what you were saying, the longer you investigate, the more you become, the less convinced you, the way you debunk, basically. And no, that's true. I was talking to somebody last week about that. They were just new. In fact, it was Beth, Paranormal Presence, and she's only been investigating. She's been out of paranormal for a long time, but she'd only been investigating for a couple of months and what have you. And we were saying, anybody new coming into the paranormal field, they're going to watch the usual ghost shows, etc. And so they're going to come in and think everything is paranormal, but you gain the experience to know, when something's normal, and then something doesn't quite fit. That makes sense.
So just when you start getting your head around and stuff like that, looking for the normal and what doesn't look normal, you then have to now throw AI into things. So AI brings a whole different ball game. What is these live videos that you watch of people where they are not the people that's talking? They get you almost convincingly with your voice. And the only thing you have to look out for maybe is abnormal movements and the mouth not quite matching up. But it could happen, anything. So kitchen cupboards opening doesn't even have to be in a kitchen. It's just something that's generated. I think, this is going to cause more headaches for people who is going to be investigating, to the extent, we'd already take their videos and their voice recordings and analyze them through software. So looking at the metadata, it would probably be easy to work out what it is that's AI generated. But then you've got the next level of intelligent people, far above my capability of understanding, that could probably fake the metadata on things to make it look like it's real. So in cases like that, I will probably just say I can't help you and not have anything to do with it if I sense that something is faked.
There's a lot of it going on, especially on TikTok, Facebook as well. But I watch a lot of TikToks, and some of the stuff that is on there, you think, how are these people getting away with it? And, how far are they willing to take it? I was watching one earlier on, and the guy was saying he contacted Freddie Mercury. Freddie was there with him, and Michael Jackson as well. People with this, people for that submarine accident. I can't remember what it was called. He contacted them. How far are you willing to go just to be popular, or whatever they want to be?
I think it's totally disrespectful, because these people have family that's still alive. You're just playing on their senses, playing on their feelings, and it's not acceptable. It's not ethical, and it's not something that I would ever advocate. And I tend to stay well clear of people who would make TikToks and things that state that they've been in contact with famous people. I mean, for goodness sake, why not Brian from Two Doors Down that died last week? Why is it always somebody famous?
That's exactly what I said in the show when I was on my bed. You know, why is it never Joe the Baker or something like that? Fred the Butcher. You know, just a normal everyday guy. Very poor taste. It's very poor taste. There's a team up here, and they're seriously getting my nerves, you know. But I can't call them out because it'd be deemed as bullying. But they're milking one particular location in Glasgow, and every time they go, they started off with one spirit, and then they kept going and got another one. I think they're up to about 11 now, is it? They're up to about 11. They were there the other night, and they got another 3. And there's a priest there as well. There's priest joined in as well. And they're up to about 11 spirits in this one location in Glasgow. And every single time they go, somebody new. They actually put a TikTok up saying the queue is getting longer for spirits wanting to talk to them.
Must be true.
It must be true, Caroline. I'm totally 100%. You know, I want to go. I want to be them, basically, because they're motivated by ego and money. Exactly, but it's the people that watch them and say, oh, wow, I think you are amazing. I want to come out and investigate. When you think, what are you people thinking about?
Yeah, you know, not great, is it?
You know, and it sheds a whole bad light on everybody else. You know, they went to a place, Eglinton Park, the other week. It's a big park near in Ayrshire, and they go a demon in Eglinton Park. Do you know what I mean? And there's quite a few demons actually. They never get a nice spirit. It's always negative, bad, demonic. It's always the bad ones. So maybe the good spirits don't like them. You know, numpties. Aye, that's. Well, I'll get different words for them, Eileen, but you know what I mean. But we'll go with numpties. But it just makes you so angry. I don't know about you, but I get really annoyed with it when I'm watching them.
Well, I promote through my writing and through interviews I do. I always promote ethical investigating. And, you know, we look into mental health and how we can safeguard and protect the clients and people that we deal with. So for me, everything that you've just talked about so far is completely unethical. To be into, you know, saying that you're in contact with people whose family are still alive, visiting areas and saying that you've got all these ghosts, you know, people live there. It's, you know, they're affected by this history. For me, getting the facts, getting the history correct, and the heritage, that's the most important thing. And investigating the claims that's been made by people. Treat it as if it's a police case that someone's come to you with a crime and you need to find out the answer. And if you are lucky enough to actually put the theory to test, you know, to see if these claims are real and you get something, then you share what you get. But at the end of the day, you know, ghosts, according to everybody, that they are real, because again, we still don't know that ghosts are real. But, you know, ghosts don't play by rules, and they're not all going to be stood there at 7 p.m. on a Friday night waiting for you and your group of friends. So
no,
it's not like
I must jump in there with this team up here. They're always sitting, they're queuing up for them.
Well, maybe I'm wrong then.
You know, so they must obviously arrange, you know, well, they'll be here at 8 o'clock, guys. So I want you all in a normal queue at 8 o'clock outside the door and just come in one by one. Do you know what I mean? But no, I totally.
I'm gonna book my tickets.
I totally agree. Her Paranormal is expert at bad taste, unbelievable. 5 minutes after, so aye, that's what I was talking about. With the Michael Jackson and Freddie Mercury, and or you know, the list is endless with that clown. You know, even Queen Elizabeth, God rest her. I think it was the day after she passed. She went to see him.
Well, can I just state for legal actions that I did not know that's who you were talking about, and I have no comments to make on that at all. Now I know.
No, I don't care if you want. I know he threatens a lot of people with lawyers and all the rest of it. He's in America. We're in Scotland. He can sue us. Try and sue us if I don't care. You know what I mean? Sorry, guys. keep getting kicked out back now, don't know for how long. That's all right, dear. We know you're with us in spirit. And I mean that in a good way. Don't mean you're dead. I mean, but no, I know that it tends to threaten people with legal action and that. So, you know, have at it. We don't care. He can come to Scotland and try and sue us if he wants. But no, it's people like him, and it's just disgusting. And as you say, Caroline, there's families out there, these people that have passed away, they're still got families kicking about, and it's like you lose a loved one, you want to know that they're okay, and if somebody comes along and offers you, oh, well, I was talking to your mum, whatever, for instance, I was talking to your mum, you're going to latch on. So what was she saying? And they're filling this person with a whole load of gumph. And it's just, I could rant on it, but I'm not going to. But the other day, I put up a post yesterday about reincarnation. So I want to know your views on it. What I was saying, and I don't know if you did you read the post?
I did read a post, yes, and it was a very good debate starter because, again, nobody knows what's correct and what's true, and this goes down to people's thought process. So it depends on, really, it comes down to your religious beliefs. And if you're a spiritualist, I guess that you'd be more swayed to think that there was reincarnation, or, a Buddhist would probably believe something like that as well. Maybe not quite so much a Catholic would believe something like that. So I guess it's down to personal interpretation of your religious understanding and belief system.
So, I mean, do you think that, when we pass on, that there is a certain time limit to us being in spirit before we have to come back, or we can choose when to come back?
Well, I mean, if there is such a thing as reincarnation, and you don't just all stay as you were when you passed away, then I can't make any comments on that. But people see Roman soldiers still nowadays. So does that mean that the whole battalion decided to stay behind, or is that a different type of spirit that's being seen? Is that one that's just replaying, like a stone tape theory? It's replaying the same thing over and over again, just as a memory and as a history that's been laid in time. But if you have an interactive spirit that you speak to as a Roman soldier, has he chosen to remain that way for time, eternity?
Mm-hmm.
There are different time lengths of people that are spotted. Modern day ghosts, there's quite a few of those around that people are spotting. So I don't know, no idea.
And I even saying, I saw that Scott, I've gone through regression. We told I had several past lives. That was the other thing I mentioned in it as well. Is there any kind of limit to how many times we can come back? Do we get a choice? I have a fear of open water for no reason. One life I had hyperius after sinking on an ocean liner. As do we carry, which is what I would say, do we carry some kind of memory or skill from a previous life to this life? I'm interested to know everybody's kind of point of view, because I never used to bother with reincarnation. It was a subject we didn't really touch, but for some reason I get interested in it now.
Well, coming from a background of a sports therapist, obviously you're trained to quite a high level of knowledge within the physical anatomy, and there is such a thing that's known as muscle memory. So if your muscle can retain a memory, your brain's a muscle. So why would it not be feasible that you would retain some kind of knowledge or thought process, a fear of something? I guess that's so. I mean, it retains an awful lot. If you had an injury that happened 3 years ago, maybe you still limp, but you don't feel pain, but your body's telling you to protect that area because if you don't protect it, it might hurt because it retains that memory. So yeah, it's totally feasible.
Here's a question for Laura. Did someone in a previous life force feed me strawberry jelly and cabbages? She's terrified of strawberry jelly. She's got an actual phobia of cabbages and strawberry jelly. Strange, I do know, but is it possible? Is it maybe a thing? Did she have a bad experience with jelly in a previous life?
She may have had an experience with strawberry jelly or cabbage when she was even younger, and she can't recall that memory. I've got a fear of pylons, overhead pylons, electrical pylons, but that's because when I was younger, I was walking to work in a rainstorm and went underneath a pylon. My umbrella started to crackle and caught fire. So I now go underneath pylons and I actually sound like I'm speaking in tongues. I go, because I just feel this huge amount of energy coming off the electric overhead pylons. So maybe she suppressed a memory that she can't remember from a childhood, like, somebody trying to feed her something that she hated when she was younger.
Well, it's either strawberry jelly or cabbages. Eileen's got an interesting question. Do organ transplantations take on donors' characteristics? I've seen some films, Hollywood kind of thing, where that's kind of happened. I think The Eyes of Laura Mars was one of the films. What do you think, Caroline? Do you think that if you get somebody's heart, maybe?
I have to take everybody's claims of the paranormal on face value, because if I didn't, there'd be no point in doing the role of investigating. So if someone said to me, I had a heart transplant, and all I can think about is the hottest curry on earth, I love it, and I've never had it before. And then when I've spoken to the family that donated it, they said that the donor's favorite food was hot curry. You read these magazine articles, especially in the paranormal community, you can see them that's out there and they're doing the rounds. So yeah, people claim that they have things that happen in changes within their body since they've had their donor organ transplant. So do I believe it? I haven't got any reason, scientifically to say that they're lying. So I have to take it on face value.
That's why I like you. A lot of other people, when it comes to investigating and what have you, you got an open mind, and you, here's that's Rigger for Spig. Hi, Caroline. Of course, it caused me big cheese. We're having the morning night at Loudon, but for some reason he calls me big cheese. I just wish he would get his grammar right, or whatever you call it, because of course that's spelled incorrectly. Rigger, you know what I mean? He's speaking it with us next year as well.
Yeah. Okay. Is that only in the Scotland one?
That's only the Scotland one. I wouldn't trust him to go anywhere else. Wouldn't trust him to leave Glasgow. I mean, with the organ transplant, do you think as well, maybe it's just a hypothetical, that, say somebody gets a guy's heart, and that, obviously I was going to say that the donor passes away. Obviously he's going to pass away. But do you think maybe the guy who gave the heart, do you think maybe he hangs about maybe to look after whoever received the heart, basically? Do you know what I'm asking? I know what I'm asking.
I know what you're asking. Does a spirit have free will, and are they able to go where they want to? Well, the house that I've got, as you know, is haunted, and we have categorically 100% proved that the activity I had in my last house that my late husband lived in happened here when I moved in. And it was such weird activity that it wouldn't be something that would be related to a house in particular. And then I'm still friends with the person who bought my house from me, and they have never had that activity happen from the day I moved out. So you tell me, do spirits have free will to go where they want to? Yes, they do. From evidence that I've got from still being in contact with the last house. Also, if you spoke to Corinne Besant, who is the lead investigator for the Jamaica Inn in Cornwall, they've had reported spirits that have been confined to certain bedrooms for many years. And then when they built the new wing downstairs to the side of the original building, the the spirits that's been seen, like the monk, the hooded monk in the cowl, now is in the new building. So that wasn't there before. So do they have free will? Looks like they
I
might
believe
do.
as well that spirit can move about, to go wherever they want to go, basically. Whether it's to look after a loved one or maybe somewhere that might sound daft, but to go somewhere where they always wanted to go, but they never had the chance. Maybe
Maybe I
somewhere they
should
want.
wait to go to Mauritius after I've passed, and I've saved myself £6,000 then, won't I?
Well, I'm off to Graceland. When my time comes, I'm off to Graceland. Just that's where I'm headed. But as
Well,
see,
Martin will be going with you because it's on his hit list of places to go.
was he an Elvis fan? Your other half.
He's a blues, yeah. He's into the blues big time, and he plays a guitar. So
All right. I was actually
going off
reading.
track of the paranormal.
I know so is this, but I read some. I think it was the Facebook feed.
What?
About Elvis. You know that Elvis? I know he's been gone nearly 50 years, but Elvis Presley earned 100. Was it 100 million?
Yeah.
$100 million last year, and he's been gone nearly 50 years.
I can bring Elvis Presley and the blues into the paranormal, and Martin's writing like an article or a book. He hasn't quite decided which one. I think it'll probably go more onto a book, but the blues is really what's behind things like voodoo and things like that. So yeah, it's got a massive link within the paranormal, and the music history and that side to it. Yeah.
I mean, I think if Elvis was still about, he'd be Graceland because that was his sanctuary, basically. My spirit attachment travels all over to speak to me. I have a video of me interacting with my deceased dog and cat via cat ball on command. So that's another case. It's not just people, the animals, hang about as well. But just you mentioned your husband, you have got something coming up with your husband, do you know?
Yeah, so when we were in Parameet, we were having a photograph taken of fellow writers for Haunted magazine, and someone said, "Come on, Martin, get into the picture." And I went, "No, he can't. He's not a writer of Haunted magazine." So Andy Saul looked at me and he said, "Well, why not? You've got stuff people want to hear, Martin, because you're a psychotherapist. Can't you relate some of your mental health or your how the brain works into the paranormal?" So at the moment, he's collaborating with me on a magazine article for Haunted magazine.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
watch this space.
I'll keep an eye out for that. So, I mean, you write for Haunted magazine. How do you
Yeah.
choose your articles?
Oh, crikey. I just sit and think, what can I do that's slightly different? And I love talking about Somerset where we are. So if I have somebody say to me, "Can you write me an article on my place?" And I research that place for them, investigate it, then if they want me to write the article to go in Haunted magazine, I'll go that way. So yeah, depends on people approaching me. But I mean, I've got about 5 magazine articles waiting to be finished from people asking me to write for them. One's in London, one's in Dorchester, two's in Dorchester. One is in East Lambeth and Somerset. One is in Glastonbury. So I have all these mounting up. And now that I've got a bit more time, hopefully coming up, I shall be able to get all these sorted out. And Andy and Paul from Haunted magazine will have quite a few that they can choose from rather than me sending them one at a time.
What's your most kind of bizarre story that you've written? But I know I like people's personal detail, but you just kind of most sort of.
I'm not really into folklore, but one of the things, and I must remember this one actually, it's on my list of things to write, something about folklore. My very, very first article that I wrote, and I tentatively handed it over to Haunted magazine, going, Is it going to be good enough? Is it going to be good enough? You know, are they going to be interested? And Paul messaged me back and said, that's brilliant. Do you want to write for us again? And he published that, and it was about screaming skulls, which is folklore peculiar to the UK only. And there's not that many of them unless people have heard about screaming skulls. So that's quite local to me. And when my son went to school in a place called Chiltern Cantelow School, this house that housed the screaming skull was in the grounds of the school. So, of course,
Mm-hmm.
I was interested in paranormal and ghosts and things. And the head teacher introduced me to the man who owned the house. So, yeah, I had a fantastic knowledge of what it was. I saw the skull in its box in its house. And I wrote the article on that and did all the history and the research that you need to do to find out about, you know, the past and how it led to occurring. And there was a really interesting sidetrack that a famous TV person had gone there and they disrespected this skull when it was being handled. And they actually had a car accident on the way home. So that fascinates me, that story. And I tell it, you know, occasionally when people ask. But it's really special for me because it was my very first article for Haunted Magazine. And I've actually got it put into a massive frame, all 3 pages that I've got. So every time I go into my lounge, it reminds me why I do this job and, you know, that I am good enough. So yeah, that's the one that started me off.
I've got a question for you, for Laura. We just to talk about the screaming skulls. I remember reading it. I can't remember the exact details of it, but a long time ago. And it was a book I had that was called Myths, Legends and Folklore of Scotland. I got it for my Christmas, actually. And I wasn't really into the paranormal. I was a bit spooky. You know, I like my horror and all that kind of stuff. I think it was my mum or dad bought me this book. It was a thick thing, you know. And but I started reading it and I get really engrossed in it. It was that thick, this, and well, there was a story in it about the screaming skull that somebody went to somebody's grave and removed the skull and took it home, and every night they were tormented by this horrendous screaming,
Mm-hmm.
and then they decided to take the skull and put it back where they, originally took it from, and the screaming stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So, just talk about that. You think, well, obviously, to me, that was whoever skull that was that
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
not happy that
Mm-hmm.
had been disturbed, basically, and he
Mm-hmm.
tormented it. But I always remember reading that story. Just you say that. So Laura's asking, how do you get into writing? I've written a few articles, mainly for PIH myself. People have said I should write more, but don't know how to go about it. Laura writes quite a lot of she writes most of the stories actually
Yeah.
on the page.
How do you get into writing? Well, if you've already written the articles, just put your big girl pants on, Laura, and be brave and think you're good enough and just send them into magazines. And I mean, it depends how many words you've got. Haunted Magazine, I normally submit something around 2,000 to 3,000 words. If it's smaller than that and it's around about less than 1,000, maybe try something depending on what they're on. Fate and Fortune, they might want to take some magazine articles, or send them to anybody that you think. I think there's American ones lap up the British history. So if you've got something based on history, just send them and put a bid in and say, you know, I've got this article. Would you like to would you like to have it for your magazine? It's called pitching. So have a look on their website and it will say something like how to pitch, and it will tell you what you need to do to put your article forward.
Do you think, writing in general, so you got Haunted Magazine, and there are other paranormal magazines out there, do you think it's harder to get into the sort of paranormal, to get accepted as a kind of a paranormal writer than it is in any other kind of line? Because, I mean, there's a lot of stigma attached to the paranormal.
Hmm. It's all about whether you think you're good enough and whether you're good enough. they're probably two different things, because I still have to have a reality check every now and again that I am good enough, because my ego is not driven from me, kind of thing. So I don't know. I had to put my big girl pants on, and I had one friend in one ear, one husband in another ear, telling me, "Just do it. What have you got to lose?" And I thought, okay, and I did, and I got front cover on my very first article. So I think if you're going to go in for a pitch, make it a big one, something that people will be interested in, something unusual that people don't normally hear much of. There is something else that I've heard of, folklore, and I watched a film about 6 months ago. And I'm not going to tell you what it's about, because I don't want anybody else getting in there quick, but I've never seen anything on it before. And it's not peculiar to like Britain on its own. I think it's probably, a lot of places across the world it happened. So I'm going to see if I can research this folklore and see what I can come up with for the hauntings relating to that. So just maybe find something a little bit different that people haven't talked about. Or if it's an investigation, pick somewhere that's off the beaten track, somewhere new that maybe is a heritage building that's looking for funding from people coming in as a visitor, like a history museum or something, anything that can help bring money in for them with advertising, writing the story up, writing the history up. So pick things that aren't known in the public domain, and people tend to like stuff like that in magazine articles. Or go for the big ones, like fairies, if you've got something to talk about. I don't know, there's different horses for different courses. I think really, if you just write about something that Laura, as something that you're interested in, you'll probably be more interested in the research side of it and give a better detailed article. So yeah, good luck with that one.
So there you go. No, you go for it, Laura. We shall keep you posted. We shall keep you up to date on our progress. But she does research quite a lot, and she does quite a lot of our stories. I used to do it when Sarah and I first started PIH way back. We did also our own stories and what have you. I did enjoy doing the research, and then putting it into my own words. But then as time went on, and obviously we get bigger, as time went on, more things came on the table and stuff, but I kind of fell away from that sort of thing, and I hadn't put anything on the page for a while. Right, story-wise, so that's how I put that wee random question. I used to do it once a week. I get a random question. It could be the most stupidest question ever, and I would just write it up and just stick it on the page, because I know with you, Carrie, no doubt it happens to you. Sometimes something will pop into your head, and it starts kind of going round, and it just kind of stays there. I have to say, I'm not going away until you answer me. No, you're absolutely right. Yep, I will. Thank you so much. Different is my middle name. Yeah, different in a good way. And
I look forward to reading them, Laura.
But I mean, I've read a lot of stuff, and it annoys me when people don't do their research.
Yeah.
For example, Greyfriars, in Edinburgh, George Mackenzie, the amount of people that have wrote about George Mackenzie, and you read this stuff, and the names are wrong, the dates are wrong, everything's totally wrong about it. But they managed to get it printed. And you think, how have they managed? Because everything's totally upside down in this. And
the research side for me is so important. Getting factual information about a property, and if it's not substantiated within research, for me, it's never happened. I put it to the side, because if 20 people came to me and said, "Oh, I've seen a lady in a blue ballerina tutu," dancing across the Great Hall of this building, if 20 people at 20 different occasions all told me they saw that, it would start sinking in that maybe there was a blue ballerina tooting across the dance floor. So you start thinking about it. But if I can't find it and verify it in history right now, excuse me, it doesn't mean to say that it hasn't happened. It just means to say that piece of information is either not in the public domain or I've not found it at that point. So yeah, getting correct and accurate information for me is something that's so important. And obviously that transpires not only to writing about the paranormal, but other buildings that I write about in history and heritage for other magazines. I write under other names that's a pseudonym, not the one that is my real name that's here. So I just, you know, write for different names because I don't always want to have the paranormal link to everything that I write. So but I love the history side, and currently working on historical research and true crime research as well. So yeah, get your facts right when you do it, and that's the first basis really. Yeah, Laura, you need to do it.
Not, you need to get in there, Laura. Get researching and get writing and get it out there. No, I mean, you're totally right, Caroline, about the research and stuff like that. You know, I'll come back to the history bit in a wee second, but just talk about research. You know, I'm going to jump back to these clowns up here. I was talking about the investigations. They did an investigation in a park here, Dean Park. It's a big park in Kilmarnock where we live, and they go witches. You know, we're talking to witches, and I started thinking. Now I'm from Glasgow originally. I only moved down here 10 years ago, you know, roughly. And we've covered most of the witch trials, you know, north to south, kind of. I thought, I don't remember there ever being witches in Dean Park. So Laura and Sarah, they were brought up here. And I said, no, you know, so we started Googling and all the rest of it. There was witch trials in Ayrshire, but there's nothing connected to this area to do with witches. And I said, well, if they're going out to investigate and they're going to fake it, surely they must, you know, you would look up something first before going out to claim or state, you know, there's witches here when there's, you know, never been any. So I mean, it's all kind of research, you know. And what you were saying earlier on about the police hero investigation, paranormal investigations is like that. If you think about it, you're totally right. You know, you've got the investigation, right? Which you could say is the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
You know, and you might gather some evidence, some facts, names, figures, and then, you know, as the police do, they go away and they research it, they look into it, they investigate it, and see if there's any, you know, back into any, if it holds water, basically.
So that was an interesting place near us. It's called Dillington House. It's not open to the public anymore. It was, and we were helping them run events. It was a council-owned or council-rented property, privately owned, and it's steeped in history, absolutely steeped. So they said, oh, you know, we've had some historic research done already, and it's linked to the people who found the mouth of in the Amazon, you know, the river in the Amazon. So, and I'm sat the Nile, and I'm sat there, and I'm thinking to myself, that's not wherever, I can't remember the name of the river. So I'm sat there thinking, okay, they've got this history. I'm just going to do my own research. So I started doing my own research, and by heck, what I came up with, and it's got links to the king that was at the time. You know, all of the fights between James I and the assizes, all that kind of stuff. And also, in research, I found that there was a chap who had killed himself, who was the butler from years ago. Now, if you do your research and you know your history, the butler's room was always down nearest to the kitchen because he would run most of the staff. And he had to be somewhere that the staff could go to collect him quite easily if he was needed for a problem. But on investigating, so we had all the research which we presented and popped into a log. And when we were investigating, it came up that he speaks, on EVP and tells us his name, and nobody else was told this apart from the immediate team. So people were there going, "Oh, do we know who William is?" Yes, and he basically was giving us information that he'd killed himself in the attic. Um, so it's very odd that even though you've got the history which tells you and the heritage of how things were done in the old days, you still
Mm-hmm.
then have the information that you collate through investigation, which can either corroborate the information or throw a spanner in the works in that case. So, yeah. But gathering the information put this William, who came up through investigation, straight into there at being somebody who had taken his own life in the building. And nobody in the building, including the person who owned it, knew about this man who'd killed himself. Nobody.
Yeah, he came through us. I want to come back to it. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Research is time consuming, it's confusing, it's hard work, but it's very important and rewarding when you write a good article. And my joy comes from people who enjoy the article.
Definitely.
True crime is a huge passion of mine. I have my own channel guy called Mystery. I cover the disappearance of Maura Murray and the Yuba County Five, which both agree. She's done both of them. I found sort of, the Maura Murray, and that, quite confusing and what have you. And the Yuba County Five, I was lost, But it was a good show, it was a good, I'm going to say it's a good story, but you know what I mean. But totally lost. There's that many different, you get that many theories, no that you do as well, if you hear something or watch something, you start getting your own theories in your head. Think, well, could have, like a Columbo kind of thing, this could have happened, that could have happened, sort of thing. But no, when you say with you got this gentleman's name through and nobody else had ever heard it, so that kind of throws a span on the works. And that's the other thing I like about investigating. You just don't know, because we've been doing Loudon for nearly 4 years, and the last time we were there, we got 2 new names that we've never ever had before. So we're back there tomorrow night, so we're going to try and follow up on these names. It might not lead to nothing, it might no, but it's when you get something new coming.
Yeah.
You think,
In the same place, it was incredible the amount of evidence that we got come through. So one of the team had a group of people up in room 10 in this same place. And she was just doing a recording, talking out amongst themselves, and then playing it back and seeing if anything was, interacting or listening. And she got this voice, and don't forget we're in Somerset. She got this real Somerset voice, and it wasn't just one word, it was a whole sentence, and it's really clear. And it says, "I've turned the bed down for you, sir." Something like that. Or, "I've drawn the curtains for you." I can't remember now exactly what it was. "I've drawn the curtains for you, sir." It was one of those, and it's brilliant. And we just sat there going, one of those moments you go, "Where did that come from?"
I mean, you're saying earlier on about being sceptical, Murphy, which you have to be. There's no. I mean, there is plenty of people there that just everything's paranormal. They'll never be helped. You just let them go on with it if that's what they want to. Let them stay in their own wee parawagon. Good luck to them. But it's when you get things like that, I know we use the necrophonic and the spirit talker, and yeah, there are words in the necrophonic that are already planted in it. Whatever you want to say, as you know, I'm not tech-minded. Word banks, whatever it is you call them. But it's when you get sentences, intelligent sentences through these things.
So the things that I've just told you weren't using any word banks. It wasn't using any equipment. It was purely on a top of the range Zoom voice recorder. It's used in professional recording for podcasts and production of sound. And nothing was used apart from a voice recorder on the side, and then you played it back.
You see, we've had quite a few intelligent answers through. Laura uses her phone, the voice recorder, and one that springs to mind. We did a train station in Kilmarnock a couple of years back, and we felt there was a woman standing in the corner, and we asked, where are you? And right after we asked, where we got the answer back, I'm behind you.
Yeah.
Through the voice recorder. So you think, I be skeptic, but then you need to think, well, who said that? Where did that come from? Same as
I
you,
like
your lady.
I like to ask bizarre things. So if I'm somewhere like a courthouse, like in Dorchester, Shire Hall, I can remember we wanted to see if, because we could hear kids, and I do this experiment called phone to phone, we call it. So we put one mobile phone in the courtroom, and then we listen through the other mobile phone. But I play white noise through
Mm-hmm.
next to the mobile phone, and if you do it correctly, you don't really hear that white noise just on its own. It sounds a little bit like white noise, but it's pretty clear. It just sounds like you're listening to an open phone line. And for some reason, I don't know why, it just seems to put more energy into people being able to manipulate the white noise into a voice. And in Shire Hall, we hear kids a lot, and they run around and they're giggling. So it was really unusual that we were hearing kids. And I sat there and I said, right, let's go back in time and we'll sing a nursery rhyme, and we'll ask them to say something that they would have known back in the period of the assizes, if this is when this would have come from. So you sing things like Ring a Roses, which obviously goes back to talk about the plague,
Mm-hmm.
the so and you miss out a line. So you say something like ring a roses, fill in the next bit, a pocket full of, and you wait and you then play the recording back and you see if they respond to you. We've had that a few times where they've filled in. So we had it in when we were doing phone to phone there. I wanted to do that. So we did exactly that thing and it filled the gap in. I thought, right, this is intelligent. It's filling this in. So then I said, what's your favorite color? And it would come back with a color in response. And I said, what's your favorite animal? And, we got giraffe for an answer. And it's like, well, that must be somebody who is fairly new, because I'm not so sure somebody in 1500s, 1600s would have actually known what a giraffe is. So it kind of like pinpoints a time and period. But, you're talking intelligent hauntings. These are the bizarre questions that you need to put in investigations so that they just cannot be mistaken with are they responding? Is that pareidolia? Have we got this wrong? If it's clear and it's a really clear response, and it's something bizarre like what's your favorite animal and it's giraffe, how can you say that that wasn't intelligent?
Not 100%. I've got a comment for Eileen and Laura. I'll stick up in a wee sec. Not 100%, Caroline. We've had that as well, particularly at Loud and Cut. We've had intelligent responses to things we've asked. We a couple of years ago, Christmas, Laura's other half of me left just before Christmas. We went and left a wee toy train and a wee angel doll, and we've been doing. We says, look, this is for the kids. It's coming up to Christmas. We thought we'd leave some gifts. So we went back in January. I don't know, middle of January, and I says, can you tell me? In fact, I think it was the fact because we Rosie was there. Says, can you tell me the gifts that we left for the children? And we get back quite clearly, EVP, how was an EVP or the necrophore, but it came through quite clear, toy train and doll.
Yeah, brilliant.
And I think we get angel as well. It's always a kind of shape of an angel. So as you say, when you get an answer back direct, you think, fair enough, there's words in the necrophonic, but when it comes back, toy train,
Yeah.
That's exactly what I left.
I've seen something that Laura's put as well, and Eileen, what she's just put about having a French soldier. So on one of the magazine articles that I wrote about, it was Fort Widley in Portsmouth, and they used to use in there and also up in Portland, most of the forts around the turn of the century, they used to use French prisoners from the Great War to build a lot of the prisons and to build a lot of the forts. So we caught a French word come through on an EVP that was recorded. So that was quite interesting that I was asking in French, questions and asking them to, respond with bangs and taps and things. So yes, if you can speak another language and you know that there's some history, it's another way to see if you can interact with something that's there. It's a valid experiment.
I think Laura's made a good point, so I'll stick up in a wee second. I think, as you say, you can speak French and what have you. I think that's also another, if you do that, then it also helps to build up trust and respect. Because you might be in a room and you've got a French soldier standing there, and you're standing there and you're asking this guy questions in English, and he's like, but if you are asking them French, then, it might be in the sort of line of thought that, well, this person knows my language, they've learned my language, and I can talk to this lady. And so it could be a way of building up, some more trust, friendship, whatever.
Don't be frightened to try and speak French, even if you've got the basics, but everybody has a mobile phone with them. And I know that most people are supposed to put mobile phones onto silent or turn them off. But if you wanted to try, there is something called Google Translate as an app, and it's free. And what you can do is speak your words in English and then translate it into French, and it speaks it for you. So you just push the button to speak it out loud. So, it's instant. It will do it for you. And then you'll hear a response come back. You can then put that response into Google Translate and it will tell you what it said.
You maybe try that, Laura, at dinner. That's quite a good idea, Caroline. We might steal that idea.
You may have that one. It's absolutely fine.
Eh?
We don't know how to speak French.
No, Caroline's, Sarah's just out there, by the way, in case you wonder. Caroline's here, like Google Translate. You can speak into it and it'll translate into whatever language.
I've got that on my phone.
All right, Sarah's got that on her phone.
Excellent.
So we can give that a go. Laura's saying, even if they didn't know the 50-watt giraffe was, who's to say that spirit don't evolve and learn as time goes on? So maybe, because I believe that spirit still has the capacity to learn, hence why maybe so many cameras get turned off and, gadgets get fiddled about with kind of thing, because they watch and they're learning and, so who's to say that whoever this individual was, maybe they did see a giraffe on their travels or, whatever. And also when you're called by name, we've all been called by name on several occasions. Have you ever been called by name?
Yeah, so there's a hotel. It's one of our favourite places. It's called the Shrubbery, and we ended up getting married there. And we were running events with them for quite a long time, and we haven't seen them since we got married because we've just been so busy. But we're going to try and put an event on again in the next few months with them. So as we were setting up the cameras in the middle area, I heard very clearly in my right ear, stood behind me, a man's voice go, "Caroline," like there was a question coming, or I was going to be told something, maybe about a situation that needed some attention. But it was like that, "Caroline." And I turned, expecting to see my husband right on my shoulder, and there was nobody there. And I went, "Oh, Martin, where are you?" And he said, "I'm in the big hall up on the stage." And I just went, so it's like in the distance, and it was Caroline, but when it's here right in your ear, that's bizarre. Yeah.
So did it freak you out? Did it spook you?
A little bit, because obviously you turn around expecting to see your loved one stood here whispering, or not whispering, but talking in your ear, and there's nobody. So yes, but the thing that's particular in that hotel, one of the peculiar things that happen in that hotel is mimicking of people's voices. So we have walkie-talkies, and then we get voices coming through that sound like the team, and it's very bizarre. And phones ring in bedrooms, and they sound like a member of the team on the phones.
It's really weird you say that, because that's happened to us. We did Dalquahan House, I think a couple of years ago, with Spig, Riggers team. And I went down in the basement. everybody was at the kind of back of the house. But I went down to the basement, did a lone vigil myself, and I came back up the stairs, and Laura and Lindsay, Rigger's other half, says, we could hear your voice. I was down in the basement, there's no way you could hear me. She says, no, your voice came through, I'm sure it was an echophonic, but we were asking questions, and it was your voice that was answering us.
Yeah.
But they were deadly serious. I thought they'd made it the wind up, you know. I thought there's no way they could have heard, because I wasn't talking, there was nobody doing it to talk to. But then it happened again. It must have been about a year later. Wee Rosie was up visiting with her other half, and we took her to Dalfahan House. Laura and her were in one room in the house, and I went for a wander. And I came back, and they says that they could hear my voice coming through the app, answering questions. So it's interesting you say that, Caroline, because that happened to, well, it happened to them. I never heard that. I was there. I was doing the stairs. So, you know,
yeah, it's a regular thing.
Spirit does that.
It's a regular thing on the walkie-talkies that they ring us as well. It's all related with phones in that place. So our walkie-talkies have a button on the side that if you have an emergency, you push it and it rings like a... so we get that ring that happens a lot in there, or it sounds like someone's pushing it to talk and there's a phone ringing in the background. Or else you just hear, Caroline, are you there? And you go to pick up as if it's one of the team saying, you know, is it coffee break time yet or something? And you go, oh, hi, Karen, go ahead, and nothing. And then you go, Karen, nothing. Karen, go ahead. And then Karen picks up the walkie-talkie and she says, hi, Caroline, what do you want? And I went, well, you've just called me. And she said, no, I didn't. And I said, you did. You know, your 10 people in your room or whatever have all gone, you did, we heard you saying it. And then 10 minutes later, she'll call me, hi, Caroline, what do you want? I haven't called you. Yes, you have. I've just heard you, haven't we? All the 10 people. So we were thinking, is someone in the team playing games? But we wouldn't do that. So we started putting a camera in the room every time somebody was in there. And then when it rang, we would immediately go and check that camera to see if it was them ringing it, and it wasn't.
Do you think that spirit's just having a joke, basically? They're just taking the mick?
Why not? Yes, bizarre. But seeing though that the reported phenomena that happened that the staff tell us about is the phones ringing, it's very interesting that it relates to the phones ringing and mimicking people's voices, even via the walkie-talkies. I mean, and I understand that walkie-talkies can have interaction from taxi ranks, you know, if they're using the same Wi-Fi, or maybe there's a nursing home up the road. We always get this old guy, and this old guy always goes, hello, hello. And we think, oh my gosh, is he sat in his home with one of these button intercoms that he would talk to somebody, you know? It could be a spirit, we don't know, but we've put this old guy that just says hello and nothing else. He never responds to anything. Or we say, are you okay? Do you need anybody to come in and see you? We've tried to talk to him. You get nothing else. But to have your voice, and it's very clearly your voice, come through, that's not a taxi rank that's picking up. That's not. So can't explain that one.
No, that is unexplainable when it's your voice. I know what you mean about, you know, they can pick up taxi ranks and, you know, other radios and so I always remember, you know, a long time ago, my kids were young and it was my ex now, but we lived in an up downstairs house, and she was at one night and I'd put the kids to bed and I was sitting, the monitors on, and I could hear running water through the monitor. So I thought one of the kids was up playing about with the bath. So I ran up the stairs, nothing, darkness. Kids were sound asleep. And back down the stairs, and I could hear it again. This happened, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 times. And then I heard splashing and laughing. So obviously I was up and down the stairs. Kids were dead to the world, basically. The bath was dry. And So there was a couple of days where I was telling the guy stayed about 2 doors up for me. I was telling him, he says, you know, believe what happened the other night. So I was telling him, he says, what time was this about? I said, I don't know, about 8 o'clock. He says, I was back in the rain at that time. And we had our monitor on. So my monitor had picked up what was coming through his monitor. I says, well, I heard the bath running, I heard the splashing, and I heard the wee and laughing and stuff. And she said, no, that would have been me back in the rain at that time. So it is, you know, they can pick up, but when you get something that's your voice and directed at you, then you think, like, somebody explain that. Don't get me wrong, same as yourself, we're all open for explanations.
I mean, at the end of the day, we all have very unique voices. And if you know each other on that friendship level, you know whose voice that is that's coming through. And even if someone could imitate me and mimic me, then to then be able to do another member of the team almost within minutes, that's just uncanny. If it was somebody that was capable of doing that in 2 different rooms to go from one group to another, you know, it's one of those things that we've left in the box of the unexplained at the end of the night because we have no idea. And it's not as if we're just thinking pareidolia that we've heard something. It's proper full on, you know, repeats of, oh, hi, Caroline, are you there? You know, and it's a sentence. It's not just hello. You know, it interacts with you.
And the fact is that numerous people heard it at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, that's
And
another big factor.
Caught on camera as well, coming through.
You know, you caught a spirit on camera, the voice.
The voice. So when it comes through on the walkie-talkie, it's caught on camera. But the ironic thing is the people who are in the room that have the other walkie-talkie don't hear it on theirs.
It's just yours.
Just us. And then when my voice comes out on her walkie-talkie, we don't hear it because we review the camera, and it shows me picking up saying, oh, hi, what do you want? And we don't hear anything else before that.
That's a weird one, isn't it? That's you do need to put that into the unexplained box. It's like we did capture. I don't know if we're still going on the computer. We did the Ivy House about 3-4 years ago with Charlie and Roxy and other people, and everybody was up the stairs and we did a locked off camera. Well, with 2, with one down his bottom, I think they must have been sitting rooms or something. But when we reviewed the footage for one of them, we had the camera sitting and there was a light attached to the top of the camera. You heard somebody coming into the room and it sounded like wooden heels. They came in and the light moved, but the camera never moved. And you heard a girl giggling.
Okay.
And then you heard the steps going back out, you sort of walking away. And everybody that was there had boots, rubber soles on, and we were all accounted. Everybody was up the stairs. There was nobody down the stairs. And it's when we watched this footage, we thought, that sounds like a little girl. If she's came in, had a wee fart about, thought it was funny, and left again.
It's what they would do, isn't it?
I think it is, you know. I'm curious, I'm going to have a wee it was like clogs, like wooden, you know, the old kind of school shoes the girls used to wear, the big wooden soles and stuff. It was like clogs then laughing, and then you heard the footsteps getting lighter, you know, walking out the room. You know, and we just could not explain that because everybody was accounted for and nobody had wooden soles on. And it's, you know, it's wee things, and that's the thing. People knew coming out of the paranormal, they watched all these ghost shows, they expect to go investigations and things are going to be flying about and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's trying to explain to people, well, it's not like that. Yeah, it might not be a flying coffee table, it might just be somebody tapping you on the shoulder.
Yeah, maybe. Personal experiences, obviously you can't substantiate them, but they're very important because you start to see patterns. And if you have enough people telling you that this is what they've experienced personally, you have to take it as read. that is a paranormal fact for that property, you know, and that's one of the phenomena that occurs, being touched on the shoulder. So if 20 people tell you that, you have to start making note of it and add it to the list of stuff to experience.
You know, as you said, maybe a tap on the shoulder. Laura had her bum felt once at a cup garden nursery. She had her bum squeezed.
Lucky Laura.
I was sitting in a camping chair we had, you know, a canvas, a camping chair, and she just went, whoop! Somebody just squeezed my bum. Sarah's been scratched. She's had her hair touched. Several people had their hair touched. I've had my sleeve pulled. All little things. Very lucky Laura. It's all little things, but you know that they've happened. You know, it's like there's a place up here, Lockdown. It's called Lockdown Castle. One day Sarah and I were doing, and with the ween, and I went away taking photographs. And the bit I was standing in the grass is about that length. It's quite tall. And I was standing taking photographs, and I heard somebody. You know that sound you get when somebody's walking through long grass?
Yeah.
I heard that behind me, and I turned round to say sorry, that was maybe somebody's road, and there was nobody there. But I know I heard that, and there was nobody else about. Nobody else heard it, but I know I heard that because it made me turn around and say, "All right, sorry, man, your road kind of thing."
Yeah.
And there was no bugger there. And again, people expect major things, investigation, but it can be something that lasts. I mean, that lasted maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds. But at the end of the day, somebody made that noise.
Yeah, definitely. And personal experiences are something that you remember yourself more than other things. So if you've been touched, you know, you've had that personal experience, and it's gone beyond what people would say the veil of just hearing a disembodied voice. It's physically touched you. It's touched your presence. You know, it has a lasting memory. So, but sometimes your body can do things like spontaneous spasms without being aware that it's doing it. So, but I think most of us know when we get a twitch or the difference between, you know, a really hard bum squeeze. I think girls would know the difference.
I would imagine, you know, I'd imagine, but let's see, Laura was quite happy that night. She went home happy, you know. She got a result, but I'm just noticing the time. I'm going to wind it up there, the new dog. Plus, I've got a 9-year-old sitting right there who's ready for her bed for last day of school tomorrow, and they're off for 8 weeks. I don't know how long your schools are off for. The same.
6 weeks. My son is now a teacher. He has he starts his first proper job. He's been doing his training kind of thing all this year. So he goes back in September teaching law, citizenship, and legal stuff to kids from 11 upwards. So he's looking forward to 6 weeks off holiday. So yeah, he loves it.
Oh well, best. I saw. We used to watch Waterloo Road. Have you ever watched it? The school, and used to get the new teachers coming. I know it's made television, but they used to get a really hard time. I wonder if it's like that, and you know.
Well, he's worked in this school for a year already as a substitute kind of thing, so they love him. And when a job came up, he applied for it. So yeah, he's going to be looking forward to Laura. Look at her calling me Catherine.
I mean that I think it was the first time we had you on. That was I was calling you as well.
I know. I think she's taking the mickey out of you, isn't she?
Probably. You know, she probably is, Catherine. You know, I mind that, and you to correct me. I mind that. Irene saying, night guys, thanks for very. I'll see you on Friday, Irene. Greyfriars, around about 11 a.m. She says sorry. No, that's good. He's into the teaching, but no, they get 8 weeks up here. It used to be 6. Why they added another 2 on for the love of money, I do not know.
Teacher training, I believe.
But and then No, you probably get them as well down there. Like say Easter, they were off for like 2 weeks and then they get back, and then they're off a couple of days later for an in-service day.
It's 7.5 they're off for.
I think what 7.5 weeks they're off for. Sorry. But they're off a couple of days later for an in-service day. I think, well, they've just been off 2 weeks. Why they get an in-service day for? You know, it's bizarre. But anyway, where can people find you, dear?
Oh, you can find me. So Somerset Paranormal Investigators UK. I've got TikTok under Caroline McKendrick-Gibson. I've got a LinkedIn account. I have Instagram and 2 Facebooks, group and page, and also a personal space. I'm quite happy to add people to my personal private account as well. It's no longer private, it's used for the paranormal. So yeah, any of those, happy to chat. If you've got questions, by all means, send me a message.
So Laura, get in touch with this lady about the right. I'm sure she'll give you some pointers or arrows or, you know, headlines.
Yep.
I don't know, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah,
anytime. I'll keep a hold of these for a second after we come off. Also, a big thanks to Caroline for coming out. You will be seeing her again, you know, because she can't not. That's good writing, isn't it? Can he not?
Can he not? I
can not. I hen. Okay, probably.
Maloon.
You what? No, what was that?
Maloon.
Manoon.
Loon. Yeah. My child, isn't it a loon?
I can't understand.
It's a Scottish word. You should know it.
Loony. You mean loony? Loon.
Yeah. Maloon.
No, I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
Do you not know that? Oh. No. You have to go and research what a loon is. And a quine.
A loon to me is a lunatic, a nutter. No,
it's not.
Are we saying loom? L-O-O-M? No. There's Jacqueline coming in just as we are leaving. Sorry, dog.
Jacqueline, remember what happens in Investigation Club stays in Investigation Club. I didn't give anything away.
You can rewatch this, Jacqueline. She never gave any of your secrets away.
No.
Fingers on lips. Not a word. But we are all curious now, you know, as to what it's what. But we'll probably never ever find out. But she just got home. Nothing happened.
No, nothing at all, Jacqueline. No.
Fingers on lips. You know that's going to annoy me. I'm going to be curious to what happened. But, you know, what happens.
It's like Fight Club. What happens in Investigation Club stays in Investigation Club. We've signed an NDA. We can't talk about it.
Right. We will not legally press you to talk about it. But so anyway, big thanks to this young lady for coming. You will be seeing her again because she can't get away. That's the words I was trying to say. No canny, no, or whatever the hell. I can't remember what I said now. So that's us down for we'll be live for Loudon tomorrow night with Mr. Big Cheese Rigger, and then Friday we are off to Edinburgh to meet up with Jamie and the lovely wee Eileen who was in the chat. We're going to see her. And then Sunday we're back with Karina from Argos Real. But big thanks to this lady, and we'll be seeing her again soon. So enjoy your evening, folks, and thanks for coming in, and we'll see you all. That's my American, you all, A-L-Y-A-L-L, you all later. No, right, I'll shut up. See you later, folks. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.